suppose I'm very close to the microphone, or the speaker. I'm good? All right, cool. All right, gang. Well, thank you for coming. My name is Josh Bressers. I work for a company called Red Hat, and I call myself a security strategist. What I do is essentially going out, talking to customers, talking to Red Hat folks, doing what I would call security product management. Let's understand what's going on in the industry, what do we need to do, and how do we get there. And this is obviously moving open source and Red Hat and lots of things forward in the right direction. And I've been doing this for around a year now. And the one thing I've learned more than anything, especially around security, is we're really bad at talking to people, right? And so that's kind of, the damn clicker quit working already. Why is that not updating? I'm sorry. All right, there we go. You suck at talking to people, and it's hurting our industry, right? As security people, I didn't realize this, and we'll get into kind of why that is and what we're doing about it, but this is kind of news to me, right? But first, we're going to cover some housekeeping tasks, right? And now, this is the backfire effect. I assume you guys all have a parent or a crazy uncle or a sister or a brother or a coworker or somebody that is going to tell you all about how the death panels are coming for grandma, or their presidential candidate is the best ever and the other one is worse, or that we didn't land on the moon, or pick any of the insane conspiracy theories that we all know are untrue, right? And have any of you ever tried to reason with these people before? Yeah, some of us have, right? And we're all kind of chuckling in the audience, because you know what I'm saying, right? These are very difficult people to deal with when you try to talk to them, okay? And that's called the backfire effect, right? Where when you show someone evidence that proves them wrong, they don't listen, they double down, okay? And as an industry, we do this a lot. That's exciting. So anyway, what ends up happening, and this is something I found, is you go to a thing like this, and you tell people you're bad at talking to people. They don't believe you. They don't want to believe you. And so there's, without a doubt, some people here, some people who are going to watch this, that will not agree that they're bad at talking to people. I used to think I was great at talking to people. I spent 11 years doing security engineering work at Red Hat. And I thought the problem was everyone else. The security guys are great at everything, literally, right? There's nothing we can't do because we're the smartest people there. Turned out that wasn't true. The next thing, something called Dunning-Kruger. I don't know if you have everyone's heard of this. I'm actually surprised. This is something I talk about all the time, but lots of people don't know about it. So the idea is, the less you know about something, the more you think you know, okay? And then you start learning and you realize, I actually don't know anything about what's going on. And this is where I put a lot of security people with soft skills, with their ability to talk to other people and understand what's going on. We all think we're way up here at the top of the curve. I used to think I was at the top of that curve, right? And then I learned a little more, and it's a rough drop to the bottom there. You know, when you get there, it's a long way down. And so, this is one of those things that applies to everything, right? How many of us work with somebody who knows everything, literally, right? We all have one. We probably all have more than one. Some of us are there, okay? And the terrifying thing about this curve, though, is that if you notice, the expert is still lower than the guy who doesn't know anything. And that's dangerous and scary. And so this is something we're going to deal with this when we talk to other people, and we also suffer from this to a degree. So if you think you know the answers, you're at the top of that curve, okay? If you know you don't know the answers, then you're doing okay. So if you think you're an expert, that's when you have to be scared, all right? And then the last one is motivated reasoning, right? We all like to think that we look for the facts, we seek out the information we need, and we're going to learn what we need to. We look for what we want to hear, and we use it to reaffirm what we think is true. Everybody does this, we do it too, all right? So again, there's people who don't believe me, who don't want to believe me, and damn it, they're going to find something that says it's wrong, right? And they're just fine. So anyway, we'll get moving now. Before we go, there are kind of two things that I want us to all accept. You don't have to, that's fine. But number one is that security isn't working today. What we call information security or InfoSec or cybersecurity or pick, there's 100 names for it. Fundamentally, things are getting worse. Okay? Now there are pieces getting better. I'm not going to deny that. I will not. This is going to be kind of doomy and gloomy without a doubt. But fundamentally, if you look at the graph of things, it's going down, right? Things are not getting better. We are not up and to the right for the security stuff. And there's a variety of reasons for that, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. But if you look at the breaches, you've got what users are doing, you've got the technology that's out there, there's millions of things going on, and fundamentally, it's not getting better, okay? That's the first big one, and we'll get to why that's important. And the second one is that technology can't fix the problems. This is something that I think confuses a lot of people and scares them sometimes. If you go to a conference like RSA, I was at RSA conference in February. You go onto the show floor, and there's literally 2,000 vendors. The place is a nut house. There's so many people there. And here's the thing. If technology could solve our problems, one of those guys would have done it already. 2,000 vendors, no problem. There's tons of open source. There's tons of organizations. Technology is easy. The problem is the technology we have today doesn't solve the problems we have today. They solve problems. Well, some of it makes more problems than it solves maybe. But fundamentally, it's not really solving problems that we need solved, okay? Who knows who the Loft is? Any old school people here? Yeah? All right. That's how you always know, right? We all got gray hair now. But there used to be this hacker group called the Loft. And Mudge here was one of the guys on it. This guy testified before Congress. And there's a great picture of these guys. They're like, they look like a lot of the folks around here, usually t-shirts, long hair, beards, all that stuff. And there's pictures of them wearing their suits with their scraggly hair and beards, testifying. And it's a great picture. It's very funny. But this is very true, right? We've been harping for years and years. Those of us have been around. Nobody listened to security. Why would anyone do what we tell them to do? But the thing is, they want our help now, right? Heartbleed happened. Shell shock happened. There have been so many named issues over the last year or two. And now people are coming and they're saying, I need help. Give me help. And what are we doing? We're not helping, right? The one thing I say all the time is if I gave you $1 million and say, go fix security in your organization, you think you could do it? You could spend it. I'm not saying you can't. But would things be better once the money's all gone? And I think fundamentally today the answer is no, right? And why is that? This is my favorite tweet I've ever found ever about security, right? It's a joke account, but at the end of the day, how many of you in your organizations know who's actually in charge of some of this stuff? It's a little better these days because now you've got CISOs and you've got your InfoSec groups and you've got your security people, but a year or two ago, you could go to almost any group and ask them a question like this, like, oh, we just got hacked. Who's in charge of this? What's going on? And that's scary when you're a security guy, right? And then I like to point this one out too, of who knows who MITRE is? I'm going to pick on these guys. I know them well. I work with them quite a bit. And I like them. They're good people, right? I'm going to pick on them, but they're good guys. So here's the thing. CVE is reaching its limitations because there's just so much security stuff going on and MITRE can't handle the workload. And so a guy I work with named Kurt Seifrid proposed a solution that's called DWF that is actually moving forward. This happened a while ago. You look up DWF sometime. It's very interesting. But MITRE decided that they were going to fix this by creating a brand new way to create security identifiers. Now, you all know what a CVID is, I assume, right? Every security issue, basically, that's supposed to exist gets a CVID. And the group behind that thought it would be okay to create a new format. Do you know how many tools are in existence that recognize the CVE format, and if you changed it, you would break them all? Tons of them, right? This would be like everything uses, say, social security numbers. What if one day someone said, okay, we're going to change that identifier now? Do you know how long that would take to get everyone to adopt the new standards and get that stuff to go through? Right? And these are security guys. Like, these are the people who are essentially in the middle of it all, and they don't even understand what's going on. So what hope do we have, right? This is my camouflage here. So one of the things I do now is I spent 11 years at Red Hat doing technical engineering work. And I knew all the answers. I knew all the problems. I knew how to fix them all, right? The problem was the users. No one listened to us. That was the problem. It wasn't us. It was all the other people. And so what happened was about a year ago, our platform business unit, which is lots of people who wear suits and fancy clothes, they had an opening for something they called a security strategist. And they said, do you want to come do this? And I thought, I have been complaining about how broken everything is for so long. If I don't go do this, I am the biggest hypocrite in the entire world. And so I go over and I start working with these business guys, right? And the first thing I found out is that sales and marketing and the business folks and the customers, they're all decent human beings. Like, I had no idea. Who knew, you know? And so it was really interesting to start going out and talking to people and listening to them and understanding what's going on instead of being stuck in my hole complaining about why nobody listens and why no one's solving any problems. And the problem is, of course, nobody listens because we don't listen to them first. So anyway, I wear a suit. When I go, in fact, I came here. My wife's like, why aren't you packing your suit? I'm like, I'm not wearing a suit to a hacker conference. She's like, really? I'm like, seriously, I'm not doing it. In fact, I was at RSA, wearing my suit, not the bow tie though. I don't like the bow tie. Wearing my suit because I was doing some press work on, it was the Wednesday, I believe. First of all, our corporate comms folks, they scheduled a breakfast I was supposed to speak at for Red Hat at 7 in the morning. 7 a.m., that is so early. It's not even, like, very few people came. For obvious, I didn't want to be there either, but I was speaking at it, so I could get out of it. And so anyway, I got my suit on, you know, I'll gussied up. And I do my stuff, and then there's some press work to do, go talk to the press and all that fun. And then I met up with a guy who used to work with me, who now works for another company out there in San Francisco. And we're hanging out, we're talking and stuff, and he goes, oh, hey, I got some guys I work with. Come on over, let's go talk to him about some things. And, you know, I walk up to him, and they see a guy in a suit, and they literally took a step back. And this guy's like, oh, no, it's good. He's smart. He's really smart. It's okay. And I'm like, this is crazy, you know? Because when you talk to security guys and you wear a suit, they don't trust you. But if you send a security guy in to talk to the suits, they don't trust you, right? Simply based upon how you look. It's madness. So when we're security guys, we want to go talk to somebody who listens, right? Does anybody listen to you? Legitimately, right? No. Nobody's listening to us. I don't think there's any doubt there. You know? Why not? A bunch of clowns. That's our excuse, right? They're too dumb to understand. They don't know what's going on. They're stupid users. They should just listen to us. We're smart. We know what's best. Okay? No questions asked. But here's the thing. Why should people listen to us? Nobody can ever answer that when you say why, right? Why do you listen to people? There's a variety of reasons, obviously. It can be something along the lines of, they pay me to listen to them. Get some of that, obviously. There's people we respect, we listen to. We all have our mentors who taught us what we know. And why do we listen to them? Do they pay us? No. But we respect them. And why? We respect them because they taught us something that was useful, right? Are we teaching people things that are useful? I don't know. I mean, that's really the question, right? We have a difficult time talking to normal people. Honestly, we struggle to talk to each other. How many of you have sat through talks where you could barely resist from jumping out of your seat and starting to yell at the presenter because whatever he was talking about you thought was wrong? I was there this morning, in fact, at one of the talks I attended. I'm like, oh, I could get this guy. Like, I bet he'd cry when I'm done, you know? No, that's not helpful to anybody. I'm not gonna do it. Not going there. See, I'm smart enough to know that. But you know, and we all do that. I remember in my younger days, I'm a bit older now, so I'm more calm, we'll say. But I remember going to talks with the intention of just destroying the speaker. And these were security talks. And of course, you didn't destroy them. You both look like idiots by the time it's done. But you know, nobody wins when you do something like that. And one of my favorite stories I tell is I did security work at Red Hat for 11 years. And there's various private security groups where the other Linux distributions and other open source projects will get together and they'll have conversations about things, about generally, we call them embargoed issues, right? These are non-public issues. And I remember I was at a conference in Germany, and this was a Linux Talk conference. There was a bunch of Red Hat security folks there. This was forever and a day ago. And the SUSE guys were there. And SUSE is another Linux distribution, for those of you who don't know. And the Red Hat security guys and the SUSE security guys get along, and we talk to each other. Because it's one of those things when you're dealing with security, you all win or you all lose, right? There's not an instance where one group wins, the other group loses. So we understand that. And I remember we're there, and the SUSE guys show up, and they're hanging out and talking to us, and every time I'd try to get near them to talk, they'd move away. And finally, I'm like, what is going on? And they look at me, they go, you're really mean. We're afraid to talk to you. I'm like, I'm a nice guy. I'm not really mean. And they're like, no, really. Like, when we make a mistake, you yell at us, and you try to kick us out of your group. And I'm like, no, I don't. And then I look back at what happened. I'm like, holy cow, I'm a terrible person. Like, I have been really mean to all these people. And that's really what kind of started me thinking about a lot of this stuff, about the fact that we are bad at being nice. We're bad at talking to people. We're bad at relating to people, right? How many of us hear this over and over and over again? That's all we do. How many times do you say yes in your typical workday? Not too often, right? Do you want coffee? Yes. Maybe. But like really, people come to you, they ask you questions. They'll say, I need a port open in the firewall. Nope. I need to get this email through. Nope. You don't even listen. You don't care. Nope. Not doing it. Not doing it. Now, there's a reason for that, right? We are risk-averse people. We are paid to deal with risk. That is our job. Okay? And anytime you do something like opening a firewall port, or doing something with email, letting a certain attachment through, letting them install something on their application, that introduces risk. So if your goal is to have zero risk, and if you always answer no, you've done your job, right? Except the problem is you really haven't. Because what ends up happening is people go around us, right? Who went to was it the keynote yesterday where the guy talks about the router in the floor? That's crazy, right? But that kind of stuff happens all the time. We all have horror stories of people running cables to get around something, or turning off the firewall, or bringing in their USB drives, or whatever. There's a million stories about this stuff. And it's because if you tell them no, they find a way to say yes. Okay? And we'll get to what that means later. This is a blog I found some time ago, right? And I love how it starts. To put it bluntly, we're jerks. If you disagree, stop reading. Right? And this again comes back to that kind of Dunning-Kruger thing, right? If you don't think you're a jerk, you're probably not on the right place of that curve, because you think everything's fine and you think everyone else is the problem, right? We're jerks, you're jerks, everyone's jerks. That's kind of really what it comes down to. We just have to find a nice way to work together, is kind of where I bring this. How many of you remember this from Linus Torvalds? He called security people a bunch of masturbating monkeys. He's not wrong, right? But he's kind of a jerk too. And so we won't worry too much about that. But this is what people think of us. We don't have a good image. People don't like security people, right? They're afraid of us. I don't know how many of you were on the talk just before this in this room, but the guy was talking about that. Nobody likes security people. They avoid us. And rightly so. I mean, I don't blame them, right? So here's where we are, right? Number one, everyone knows we're smart. No one's going to deny that. They know we're smart. They know we're the security guys. They know they can come to us and ask security questions and get security help. Okay? That part's easy. Everyone understands that. They don't like us. Now, that's a complicated reason, but fundamentally, I compare it to being a parent. I've got small children now. Nobody wants to be like, hey, Dad, can I play with fire? No. That is essentially what happens in a lot of cases. Sometimes they know that they're going to ask us for something they shouldn't do. And we're going to tell them no. Sometimes they don't ask, right? Either way, they're not our biggest fans. But the third point is the most important thing of all, is if you don't respect someone, you don't listen to them. This is a perfect season for this topic. There are 2 people running for president of the United States. Yeah. Well, there's 2 big ones, we'll say. And I would say, if ever there was a more divisive 2 people in the world, it is these 2 humans. Right? And I'm sure that if you agree with one of them, the other one is the Antichrist. And you hate them, and they're dumb, and you can't possibly understand why anyone would ever listen to them or think that's okay. Right? And why is that? You don't respect them. You think they're dumb. You think they're idiots. And this is kind of where I see security today. You've got us, and we know we're smart. We know we can solve all the problems. They don't listen to us, though, because they're dumb. And you know what they think? Now that I talk to these people all the time, right? I'm actually closer to this side now than I am over here. These people think the security guys are a bunch of morons, right? They don't want to talk to us. They don't respect us. They think we're ridiculous. They think we don't solve problems. They think we get in the way. It is amazing. When I got my new job, where I wear a suit, it was crazy how different things got almost instantly, where the old security guys I knew, like almost the day I moved positions, started treating me differently. I remember thinking, I'm like, nothing is different. Like, what's going on here? But it was very incredible. And additionally, the business people started talking to me. They're like, oh, those security assholes, those guys are terrible. Can you believe it? I'm like, I told you that yesterday. Like, it's not, what's going on here? But it was crazy, right? But because I suddenly moved into that group, it blew my mind. In a month, I realized how crazy everything was. And it amazed me. It opened my eyes in a way I've never had done before, right? And so the question now, and this is why I peddle this message around to folks like you. I go out and I talk to anyone I can about this. Is what do we do? How do we fix it, right? And soft skills is what I like to talk about. Soft skills being talking to people, right? Compassion, understanding, things we're bad at. We're really good at technology. But I said at the beginning, technology isn't going to fix this stuff. We can all probably sit down and code our way out of any problem we could possibly imagine, right? Except this one. There is no code that can teach you how to be nice to people, which is unfortunate, I will admit, because it'd be a lot easier if there was. But there isn't, right? We can't call people dumb. Now, some people, even if they are, right? I'm not going to say everyone deserves respect necessarily. I'm not going to tell you to stand there and take a beating from everybody, because that's crazy, right? I don't want that. But you got to be nice to a degree, okay? To a degree. And the other thing that I've really, really started to understand is, so we're good at security, and we think we're good at what everyone else does too. But you know what? It turns out they can all do things we can't. Like sales, their job is to sell. Do you think anyone would buy anything from any of us? Hell no. Right? No way. I couldn't sell a cold glass of water to a thirsty man on a hot day. And I know that now. I used to think I could do it. Dunning-Kruger though, right? The less you know, the more you think you know. Okay? And so we all kind of find ourselves there. Marketing. They're really good at talking to people. Now, sometimes you do get the marketing people that they add all the buzzwords and it's all crazy and bizarre. So I'm not going to say it's all without issue. But generally speaking, their job is to convey messages. Are we any good at that? No. We're really bad, actually, turns out. Right? Who knew? And so this is one of the other very enlightening things I had. In fact, at Red Hat, this is something the security team suffered from and kind of still does to a degree, is back when I started, there weren't a lot of people at Red Hat. I've been there 12 years. And so if someone was doing something too slow for our liking, or we just didn't want to deal with them, we were like, yeah, we can do that. No problem, right? So we ended up doing a lot of writing our own documentation and a lot of crazy things that honestly we never should have done. And part of it was we thought we could do their job better than them, which is totally not true, right? All right, why is an easy one, right? We need to teach everyone else about security, okay? No one's going to disagree with that. Now, what we teach them is, of course, up for debate. We'll kind of figure that out in a bit. But the second part is the most important. They need to teach us what they do. Everyone else knows something we don't. And if we don't understand what they know, if we don't understand how they can help us, yes, they can all help us in some way, we will fail. And, most importantly, we can't do everything ourselves, right? Is there a person in this room who doesn't think they're overworked? Yeah, right, nobody does. We're all probably running at 120% at least. At least. Chess here is probably what, 200-300% in your team? I work with Chess. He's part of one of the Red Hat security engineers. In fact, I was your manager, wasn't I, at one point? So, but anyway, right? So we're all super busy. We have to let them help us. We don't have a choice. We're on a path to destruction. This, I don't know the answer to. I wonder about this every day. I wonder about the other side of this is, can we teach people security? And I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if you can teach people to communicate or if it's just something that's maybe some people have it and some people don't. I suspect we can all learn enough. I don't think any of us are going to turn into experts. None of us are going to go on the, public speaking circuit giving inspirational talks to huge audiences explaining how we solved all the problems of the world. But I think there's a certain amount of soft skills we can pick up here, right? Communication is the single biggest thing we have to do. Now, when I say communication, I don't just mean talking to people. Talking is easy. Listening is hard. And it's not just about talking and listening. It's not just about giving presentations. It's not just about sending emails. It's not just about using something like Twitter. It's about how you present yourself, what you look like, what you do. When I wear a suit, I'm instantly communicating something to the people I'm with. If it's hackers, I'm telling them I'm an idiot. If it's business people, I'm telling them that I'm a fellow business person and I'm here to talk business with you. If I showed up in jeans and a t-shirt to talk to a CISO, what would that do? Some CISOs would be fine with that. Some would hate it. Right? The sales guys would never let me wear jeans and a t-shirt. They'd be like, get the hell out of that and put on some real clothes. Now, at the same time, I remember we had some sales guys brought one of our engineers to meet a customer. And this guy was all excited. He's like, oh, I bought a new suit to go talk to the customer, and this is going to be really cool. Like, I haven't bought a new suit in years. And he shows up in his suit, and the sales guys look at him and go, you can't wear that. He's like, what do you mean? They're like, engineers don't wear suits. Like, get out of that and go put your jeans and t-shirt on. Like, if I bring you in, they're going to think you're another business guy and doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, get out of that thing. And he's like, what do I do now? This is crazy. And funny enough, it's kind of a follow-up to that. He had a business meeting in Japan then. He's like, oh, Japan, they wear suits in Japan. That's great. Well, it turned out since the meltdown of their nuclear reactor, part of, I guess, Japanese loyalty or nationality or whatever you want to call it, they stopped wearing suits to work because they had to keep the air conditioning turned down too low. So, yeah, he still didn't get rid of her suit. But, ooh. So it's just one of those funny stories, right? Be nice. We all think we know how to be nice. Anyone who has little kids, you deal with being nice all the time, right? You got to be nice. Be nice to your sister. Stop fighting. Don't do that. We're no different. We are terrible to each other. We are terrible to other people. It's kind of my story I told just a little while ago about being mean to the Suze guys. I had to sit down and think about what does it mean to be nice. And this one doesn't have an obvious answer. Every person's different. Some people, you be nice by being honest to them. Some people, you be nice by not being honest to them. But generally speaking, this kind of comes back to communication. If you pay attention to the person you're dealing with, you'll understand what being nice means. Okay? And it's tricky. It's really hard to do. But we can all figure this one out, right? You know, if someone starts getting upset with you, you're not being nice, right? That one's pretty easy. Listening is huge. Listening is the single biggest thing we don't do. Okay? Excuse me. So here's the deal with listening. When you go out and you start talking to people, they don't want to listen to you. They want you to listen to them. When I go out and I ask them what's going on, all you have to do when you want to find out what a customer is doing with your stuff, or you want to ask how you can help make, say, an engineer's life better, what the sales guys need, what the marketing people need, all you have to do is say, what's going on? That's it. And they will talk. They will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and they won't stop talking. But here's the thing. When most of us go into a meeting, or we go to meet someone, or even when we're dealing with our friends, we're really waiting for our turn to talk, aren't we? Most of us, right? And you'll find, try this sometime, sit down and just don't talk. you will be amazed the things people will tell you. People will tell you things you don't even want to know about them if you let them talk long enough. Because most people will talk and they will not stop talking. And in there somewhere is what you need to know. And that's the single most important thing we don't do as an industry, is we don't understand what people are doing. We don't understand what their problems really are. We talk about things like, oh, we need the new firewall, or we're going to prevent O-Day, or we're going to deal with this APT attacks, but in all seriousness, our security problems are because people are solving problems they have. And they're not always doing it in the way that makes sense. And if we listen to them and we understand what they're trying to do, that's when we make things better. This kind of comes back to the idea, how many of you, if someone will come to you and say, oh, I'm having this problem, you instantly start talking about solutions to their problem, right? And in reality, whatever we think the problem is, usually isn't actually the problem, right? We see this all the time, where someone will say, oh, I've got this issue, you know, my kid's acting up at school. It's like, oh, just punish him more or something. It's like, no, it's never that. There's always something else going on. And this is the same for everybody and all the problems they have. When you talk to them, they're always trying to do something. How many times have you sat at a meeting and you ask the question, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Because you always get off track. Things always get out of hand. And it's bizarre. But it's because we don't listen. Right? This seems easy, but it's the hardest thing I do every day. I talk to people all day long, every day. There's a lot of people I don't like I have to talk to. You're not one of them. But you got to be their friend. And that's the thing I've decided, is there are some very difficult people I work with. There's some very difficult customers we have. There are some very difficult people that I don't work with, but I still have to deal with. And I now apply this to my daily life all the time. People like their friends. People tell their friends things that are important. People work with their friends and they help them out. If you're their enemy, are they going to help you? No. Not at all. I remember there was an instance where I worked at a small company here, in fact, in Indianapolis. I used to live here some time ago. And this was a Linux company, and I was doing one of their security guys. And we were we were terrible to each other, I'll say, right? Some of us liked each other. Most of us didn't. And we acted like it. Even the ones who liked each other, honestly, were horrible to each other. And we had this guy once that he pasted the root password to all the workstations, because our security solution at the time was just give every workstation the same root password, which was totally secure. And in fact, we would log in each other's workstations and like delete things and remove users, and it was great. We thought it was hilarious. But he pasted the root password in IRC on Freenode, which is a public IRC network, okay? He pasted the password on Freenode. In a public channel, mind you. And these machines were all network accessible. Not that anyone really knew exactly what was going on, but anyway. And he told us 3 days later, and we were really mad. We were really mean. And we tried really hard to get this guy fired, right? Why do you think he did that? He waited 3 days because he was deathly afraid of us. Now, granted, he did technically make things worse by waiting 3 days. But we were also really mean, too. And instead of even trying to help or work out or be positive or be decent humans, we were terrible to this guy. I'm honestly a little surprised he didn't quit. That is not helpful. That is not a friend. And do you think that guy was ever going to come to us again with questions or comments or anything that needed to be done? No, absolutely not. Without a doubt, he's not. And so we talk about things like, oh, we got to get the developers to talk to us. We got to teach the developers what they need to know. We got to teach the people not to click on the emails. We got to get this product installed so we can block it at the firewall. But in reality, if they don't like us, it doesn't matter. And not only that, if you're the security guy who says no, you're the mean security guy, no one likes you, no one wants to deal with you, do you think they're going to feel even a little bad when they go around whatever security protections might be in place that's preventing them from doing their job? Heck no, they're probably going to be proud of themselves. They're going to tell their friends. They'll be like, you know what I just did the other day? I got around those idiots' firewall. Look what I did. And this is how things work, right? This is what people do. This is how they deal with it. I see this when I go talk to our customers. We have a technology called SE Linux. Okay? And anyone who's ever used SE Linux will know that SE Linux is not the most user-friendly thing in the world. However, I could speak for hours on some other aspects of it, but generally speaking, it's difficult. And you go into a customer meeting, and SE Linux inevitably will come up. And you know what they do? They kind of start squirming, and they shift around, and they look at, and they don't really say anything, but you know what's going on. They turned it off, right? And I don't blame them. And I'll say, you turned it off? I turned it off too. Now, pow. We've got something to relate to. They love it. They're happy. Then they'll start talking and talking and talking and give me all kinds of information I can use. But before that, I'm the adversary, right? When they think they've done something wrong, I'm the bad guy. I'm the parent. They're the teenager who wrecked the car, and they're afraid to tell me they did it because they know what's coming next. Okay? But here's the thing. As soon as you relate to people, as soon as you be their friend, as soon as you're both on the same plane, the communication flows back and forth much easier. And then you can start listening again, and they're going to tell you the things they need. Okay? So even though I say just sit and listen, sometimes you got to give them a little poke to nudge them in the right direction. Because at the same time, as security people, we're the authorities they don't like. So what do we do now? All right? This is the stuff I want you all to start doing today. All right? I shouldn't say that. This sounds super easy to do. You look at this list, you're like, oh, that's easy, no problem. It's hard to do this stuff. It's taken me, I won't even admit I'm a pro at this, and I've been dealing with this kind of stuff for a year now. I expect this to take the rest of my life before I'm going to be willing to claim I'm an expert in any of this. Listen twice as much as you talk. How many times has your mother told you God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? We tell our kids that all the time, and they still talk a lot. More than I can handle sometimes. I know so much about Pokemon, you guys have no idea. I couldn't care less, honestly. But I know all about it now, right? And that sounds easy, but sometimes it's hard to sit and listen. Sometimes it's really hard to do, right? Patience is a virtue. When I sit in a talk and the people are wrong, I don't correct them anymore. That's really hard to do. And I attribute that to partially being patient. Let them get to where they're going. Now I'll ask stupid questions sometimes, because that's fun to do. But generally speaking, when someone's wrong, I don't jump on them. When someone's wrong at work, I don't jump on them. When you jump on people and you try to make them look dumb, they don't like you. Big surprise, right? I mean, who knew? The third one there is talk about what you know, all right? We all know something. We know what we know. A lot of us don't know what we don't know. And that's kind of that Dunning-Kruger thing to figure out, right? Understand where you're at. If you think you're an expert at something, you're not. I'm going to tell you that now. I think is it Feynman who has a quote, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics, right? I mean, that's how a lot of this stuff works, okay? I'm not an expert in anything anymore. I've come to realize that. The things I think I am, I'm wrong. That's pretty much the accepting fact of reality I've come to. So, but you know things and you can help other people. But the last point is really important too, is there's lots of things you don't know. So don't assume you know everything, okay? Find out what the people you're dealing with know and let them help you. One of the reasons security fails is because we try to do it all ourselves, because we think we're smarter than everyone else. We're not smarter than anybody. We might know more about security than they do, but they know more about a lot of other stuff than we do, right? And this is hard. This is so hard to do, you guys have no idea. I wish it was easy, and it looks easy. Like this feels like the crap you tell your kids every time they get in trouble. But it's so hard. It's so hard to do. But anyway, it shouldn't be hard. And it won't be that bad. Practice it, right? It's like anything. You gotta practice. You gotta practice, you gotta practice, you gotta practice. And I have no doubt, if we keep doing these things, this is what security needs, right? Security needs to grow up. We all need to start talking to people. We all need to start doing what's right. We need to start relating to people. They need to trust us, and that's how things are going to get better. We're not going to fix it with technology. It's this, right here. Those are going to make more difference than anything else. And additionally, when you go and talk to leaders in an organization, this is what they do, right? How many of you have a CEO that just sits and talks and tells everyone what to do? Not too often. They listen a lot more than they talk if you really pay attention. And there's a reason for that, right? Same thing with your CISOs, your CTOs, your CIOs, all those guys. They don't have all the answers, and they know it. And I mean, that's what makes a good CISO, right? That's a guy who listens to the people he's got working for him. It's not a guy who tells them what to do. And if anyone's ever been in that position, you know what you do all day? You eat crow. That's what you do. You get yelled at all day long by the people above you, and then you ask the guys who work for you to help you out and how to solve their problems. It's hard and it's weird, but this is our industry now. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see where we go in the next couple of years. That's all I got. I've got a Twitter handle here. Feel free to hassle me on Twitter all you want. I love talking about this stuff. I go out of my way to do it. And I have a blog that I put at the bottom where I talk about all this stuff all the time as much as I can. And some of it's kind of just insane ramblings. But generally speaking, I've come to the realization, now that I talk to people all the time, that our problem isn't technology. I used to think it was. I thought we could train our way out of this. We'll teach developers. We need better tools. We could add something to the compiler and everything will be fine. And it's not. It's people, right? It's all people, and it's us. And I blame us for a lot of these problems. So I know I'm holding us all from lunch, but does anyone have any questions or comments? That's fine. Wonderful. We all get to go to lunch now. All right, gang. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.